I've always loved huge trees, like these old growth forest trees in Joyce Kilmer Memorial Forest in North Carolina, or the sequoia trees in Sequoia National Park, or giant redwoods in Redwood National Park, or even angel oak tree down on the South Carolina coast. As I said earlier, my wife and I love big trees, like Yosemite, the sequoias there, Sequoia National Park, Kings Canyon, the Redwood National Park. Even right here in South Carolina, the angel oak tree in Charleston, we just love them. We were attracted to this place because of the big giant trees, mainly oak trees, some giant hickory trees, and some other types of trees. But it's oak trees I wanted to focus on for this video. So that's a massive oak tree right here. But look at what I wanted to point out is, see that limb? It's almost horizontal. You can imagine the stress where it attaches to the base of the tree or the main trunk. So oak trees are truly amazing. Most of the time they don't just break off. But the thing is, you don't know if that branch is hollow inside and ready to fall off. We've had them do it in perfectly fine weather like this, virtually no wind. So they can be very hazardous. I certainly wouldn't spend much time under it, park a car under it, or even the boat. The boat, we think, is far enough away from it, it's not going to hit it. So if this video will help someone consider their own personal situation, their property, whether or not they need to get some professional tree trimming done or maybe even tree removal, it could save a life. And a lot of people had a lot worse problems than we've had here. And there's been fatalities, injuries, houses crushed, cars crushed. It's horrendous. Now with storms becoming more intense, with more moisture in the atmosphere, it's getting even worse. So I hope you'll at least consider your situation after watching this. And what I'm going to do now is just show you some of the specific issues we've had to deal with here. And I hope you get something out of it. So, this oak tree, it's a beautiful tree. It's a perfect example of one of the major problems with oak trees. See how most of the mass of the tree is probably in the upper, probably third of the tree. It's massive up there. I mean, that's probably at least a 20,000 pound tree, I would guess. It's like an upside down pear, so they're really top heavy, and if they have leaves on them, there's a lot of force of wind blowing on them. But that's one of the main issues with oak trees compared to something like some of the cedar trees, and those are Leland cypress trees over there. They're not top heavy, they kind of taper up to the top. But these oak trees, it's no wonder they blow down in the wind. Our problem has not been them blowing down, it's been limbs breaking off. So we're going to show you what we got around here and hope it will help guide you with your decisions about your property. Back in about 2012, we had two massive, roughly 80-foot tall hickory trees that were too close to the house. My wife was allergic to hickory nuts, so we had professional tree climbers come out and remove them. It was awesome. That's definitely the way to go rather than try to do it yourself. And I'll show you this one clip of his final topping here in just a second.
They're not receiving.
I just absolutely can't imagine doing that.
I couldn't do it. I do to do
Well, the trick to it is after it starts open,
I know.
you hold on.
Yeah,
It'll
but
pick
I
you
think
off.
I don't know that I could think.
We had another big giant hickory tree about 80 feet tall. You can see it in the background near the red, in front of the red cobra. We were just taking a picture of the snake and happened to capture it. The tree was healthy then. But about 2016, my wife noticed that a lot of the leaves were starting to die, and it was leaning more towards the fence and therefore towards the road. So we started getting concerned about that. This is another angle. You can definitely see it leaning towards the fence. If this is a wintertime picture here, where you can see a lot of the branches towards the Leland cypress towards the fence. And then this is the picture of the roadside where it's definitely overhanging the Leland cypress trees. All the weight's going that way. That was a bad sign right there. This is a different tree climber than the other two. The other two weren't available. And this turned out to be a bigger problem than he realized when he took on the job. Well, we're not having a good day with the tree cutting. If you can see it, but he got his bar got stuck in the saw kerf in the tree. Looks like it's the tractor and the truck both are putting a pretty good bit of tension on it with the ropes up there. But let's hope the wind doesn't blow, or if it does blow, it blows in the right direction. So we got both the truck and the tractor pulling on this thing, and he's going to get a bigger saw from a friend. He had tapped on the trunk to see if it was hollow, but it was way worse than he had thought. So the hinge he cut just plain would not hold it, even with the tractor and the truck pulling on it. So definitely a major problem there. And you couldn't see it from the outside of the tree. The trunk looked healthy. And definitely the tree was major hollow and a real problem. And as you can see here in this next little clip, it fell completely across the road. We were just lucky no car was coming down the road. It would totally crushed them. And as it did, it took out our fence and about 4 Leland cypress trees and left us with a gigantic mess to clean up, which we did, believe it or not, with an electric chainsaw. This is what's left of the biggest tree on the property. It's a little over 3.5 feet in diameter, at least 100 feet high. And it's a little hard to see, but a few feet down from the very top of the broken top was a hollow spot where a great horned owl lived. You could hear it hooting in my thermal anisotropy video I made some time ago. Laid down in between the layers. Okay, gets in there. Once you form that intercalation. But Hurricane Irma came through. This thing was in perfectly good shape and snapped off the top of that tree, and it came down probably a second. It didn't just fall down, it got blown down. Missed me by about 20 seconds. I was right there, and it came down and hit the side of the building. I mean, it blew down. It was just one of the scariest things I've seen, one of the closest calls I've had. But look at these giant oak trees. I mean, they're true beautiful monsters. And so just trying to share some of the hazards you can have with these beautiful trees. This tree right here and that tree right there is the reason I built this metal shop building here. I thought they'd give me shade, and they did. But I found out after Hurricane Irma came through and broke that tree off and hit the building and almost wiped me out, that they're just, you're better off putting your building away from the trees. Trees are great, but not where you live and where you work and where you play. I have some archive photos and videos, but I had a picnic table right here. We've had picnics on it.
Going up to Mars and living on Mars.
One of my daughters like to sit on it and do her artwork and stuff, write poems. But one day I encouraged her to come out here. She was sitting there. That night, a dead branch, tree guys called widowmakers, fell off and put a big dent in the top of that table. It would have probably killed her if it hit her. That's not even really the scariest thing. The scariest thing is back on this side of the tree. You can't even really hardly see it from here. But I moved that branch right there. On a perfectly clear day, when there was nothing wrong with the tree, no storm, no wind, no nothing, it decided to just break off and went that way. Most of it fell into the pond. it was as big as the old tree itself. And that's what's really scary. You can't just look at a dead branch. Just like right there, you can see a small dead branch there. You see a big dead branch right up there in the center of where those tree limbs fork out. It's a giant one. There's a good reason to call them widowmakers. So you really do need to pay attention to what's near your property, where you're parking your cars, or where you or your kids are spending time. These trees are beautiful out in the woods, but when they're near where you're doing things, they can be a major safety hazard. This big giant tree we had, I was just in the metal building. I hadn't been out of it 20 seconds, and the whole thing broke off about halfway up, or about a third of the way up. I don't know what damage it's done to the metal building yet. We'll check to see. Bad. This won't be the last, probably. This is what's left of the picnic table after Hurricane Irma totally smashed it and broke up some of the other lawn furniture. The tree was hollowed out inside. You couldn't tell it. Looking at it, it looked like a perfectly healthy tree, other than the spot where the horned owl was hanging out. But definitely ready to go, and we had no idea. This was a large branch off that tree that slammed through the roof of my metal shop building. It was really bad. Because of Hurricane Irma wiping out that biggest oak tree, we decided to proactively take out this other 34-inch diameter tree that was about 100 feet tall, leaning over the metal building, providing shade, but it's like a giant monster hanging over it. So we hired a different professional tree climber to come out and take it down. Here the tree climber's already gotten most of the lower branches off. He's getting ready to top it. We're going to show you here in just a second. I want to point out, when he was about halfway up, he showed me where he could stick his hand right through the middle of the tree. There was a big hole in it and full of carpenter ants. A really bad sign.
That's the queen.
Black ant, carpenter ants. Yeah, that tree was at risk of breaking off. Hopefully this video shows you that no matter how massive and healthy looking big oak trees are, or hickory trees for that matter, they can be hollow inside and ready to break off at any minute. So you really should take a serious look at what you've got around your property and consider, is the risk worth it? So I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click the round subscribe button, like it, and check out our other links. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you.